All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're uncovering the absolutely fascinating true story behind the world's most famous mystery author. We are totally peeling back the myth to look at a real-life Phoenix arc. Agatha Christie is legendary for her brilliant fictional puzzles, but her own life, well, that contained a narrative that is far more compelling and, honestly, far more misunderstood than anything she ever actually published. We're going to explore exactly how her greatest personal tragedy led her straight into the literal dirt and ruins of the Middle East, where she managed to excavate an entirely new life. So picture this. It's December 1926, and the world's absolute greatest mystery writer just vanishes without a single trace. Agatha Christie disappeared for 11 whole days, and it sparked this massive nationwide woman hunt. I mean, it was headline news everywhere. Finally, she's discovered nearly 200 miles away from her home, living under a totally false name in a spa hotel up in Harrogate, Yorkshire. And for decades, the public and the media just speculated wildly about it. They were asking, was this some devious publicity stunt to sell more books? Was she literally trying to frame her cheating husband for her own murder? But the reality, it wasn't some devious, calculated plot at all. It was simply a woman breaking down under intense, compounding trauma. 1926 was just an absolute nightmare of a year for her. First, she suffers the devastating loss of her mother. Then, right on top of that, she's dealing with the overwhelming pressure to churn out her next big bestseller. And right on the heels of all that, she finds out about her husband's affair. The sheer weight of these events just pushed her right to the absolute brink. She literally couldn't bear her life anymore as the bereaved, betrayed Mrs. Agatha Christie. Now, the media at the time, they branded her as secretive and cold, spinning all these sensational tales of a publicity stunt. But the true story, which she finally revealed in this rare, deeply personal interview with the Daily Mail in 1928, just to secure custody of her daughter, was heartbreaking. She had actually survived a suicide attempt and slipped into what psychiatrists call a fugue state. If you're not familiar, it's this profound form of mental distress where your mind essentially protects you from a reality you just find intolerable by completely erasing your identity. It's like a mental circuit breaker tripping. But people in the 1920s, heavily conditioned by a post-war culture that often even doubted shell shock victims, they just point-blank refused to believe her. So fast forward to 1930, she's 40, newly divorced, and Agatha is just desperate to escape the toxic, suffocating noise of London society. And she wasn't looking for romance, not at all. She was looking for healing, for some kind of purpose and forward motion. So, what does she do? She packs her bags and travels to an archaeological dig in Iraq. She literally steps away from the flashbulbs of the press and right into the quiet, dusty, ancient ruins of the Middle East. And it was out there at this dig in Iraq, run by the famous archaeologist Leonard Woolley, that she just unexpectedly meets this young guy assigned to show her around the site. His name was Max Mallowan, a 26-year-old archaeologist. Now, despite the age gap and the fact that Agatha genuinely thought her heart was totally finished with love, they struck up this really profound connection. She actually later quipped, quite famously, that an archaeologist is the best husband any woman can have, because the older she gets, the more interested he is in her. Being surrounded by all these ancient treasures, these intricate silver works pulled straight out of the dirt, it really mirrored what was happening with them. Their quiet, steady courtship just blossomed. Max deeply admired Agatha's wit and that sharp novelist precision she had, while Agatha just loved his steadiness and his absolute fascination with history. Being in that shared environment, working side by side, it turned their courtship into a proposal in just a matter of months. And she said yes, kicking off what would become one of the most successful partnerships of the entire 20th century. What's so amazing about their partnership is just how tactile and grounded it was. She wasn't just tagging along as some glamorous celebrity wife. No, she was right there in the dirt. She washed pottery, she photographed the artifacts. In fact, and I love this detail, she famously used her own facial face cream and wooden orange sticks to painstakingly clean the delicate, ancient ivories they'd unearthed. And then, in the evenings, surrounded by the desert winds, she'd sit there by lamplight and write some of the absolute greatest mystery novels the world has ever known. Out in these super remote, dusty locations like Nimrud and Chaggar Bazaar, they found this restorative sanctuary, completely isolated from that harsh London spotlight. They found joy, this profound shared purpose, and even a lot of comedy in all the inevitable crazy disasters that come with expedition life. Max never once tried to dim Agatha's brilliance, and she never tried to overshadow his career. Their love really thrived on collaboration rather than any kind of competition.
Section 1. Real life inspires fiction.
Okay, so let's look at how Agatha's real-world logistical nightmares literally transformed into literary gold. Back in 1929, the Orient Express was actually marooned in a blizzard in Turkey for 6 days. 2 years later, Agatha is on that exact same train when heavy flooding washes the tracks right away. That very real-life chaos, it directly birthed Murder on the Orient Express. Her time at the Arpacia dig led her to dedicate that very book to Max. And the people she met out there? Well, the wife of the dig director Leonard Woolley, a woman named Catherine, directly inspired the murder victim in her 1936 novel Murder in Mesopotamia. And it wasn't just the people, right? It was absolutely the places, too. Her incredibly sharp novelist's eye captured the geography and all the quirky tourists buzzing around her during her travels. Like a trip to Egypt, where she observed tourists flocking to the pyramids, gave her the stunning backdrop for Death on the Nile. Her expeditions to Jerusalem and the Red Rose City of Petra, those perfectly set the stage for Appointment with Death. She was literally using her real-world expeditions to elevate her fictional settings into something totally immersive for her readers. Completely immersed in this world of deep antiquity and ancient craftsmanship, Agatha was actually prompted by a challenge. A notable Egyptologist named Stephen Glanville essentially dared her to step out of her own era entirely. And the result of that challenge was Death Comes as the End. It's super unique because it remains her only novel that isn't set in contemporary society. It takes place entirely in Thebes in the year 2000 BC. But she didn't just stick to fiction. She actively documented their actual real-life adventures, too. In 1946, she published this factual, autobiographical book called Come Tell Me How You Live. And in it, she turns the incredibly grueling reality of these archaeological digs into this charming, super humorous account of their life together. It was this wonderful piece of writing that subtly but firmly proved to the world that she wasn't that difficult, cold woman the 1920s press had claimed she was. Actually, she was a highly relatable, incredibly resilient, and adventurous partner. Section 2. A quiet, lasting legacy. One Agatha passed away in 1976, and then Max followed 2 years later. They were buried side by side in Chelsea, Oxfordshire. And their shared headstone bears this absolutely beautiful inscription: sleep after toil, port after stormy seas, ease after war, death after life, discreet as please. It is just a stunning, poetic testament to the profound sense of harbor and peace she finally found with Max, especially after weathering the horrific storms of her early life. So to wrap up our explainer today, I really want to leave you all with a question to chew on. Can our darkest, most painful real-life moments actually become the prologue to our greatest stories? Agatha Christie's life was literally shattered by betrayal and intense mental distress, and all of it was plastered across the global press for everyone to see. But she absolutely didn't let that define her. Instead, she found her greatest love, her most enduring inspiration, and her ultimate peace. Not in some perfect high society life, but out there, finding a true story of rebirth in the dust and the ruin.